Welcome back. This is World Insight with me, Tian Wei. The 18th China-ASEAN Expo and the concurrent China-ASEAN Business and Investment Summit wrapped up Monday in the southern Chinese city, Nanning. Some 179 deals, all worth a record high 300 billion yuan, were signed during the expo. China has been ASEAN's largest trading partner for 12 consecutive years, the volume swelling 85 times since starting dialogue relations 30 years ago. Earlier, I talked to Zhang Shaogang, Vice Chairman of the China Council for Promotion of International Trade. He talks intensively about the China-ASEAN ties. Take a listen. China-ASEAN trade skyrocketing. Look at volume. It's amazing. How come the trade could be so outstanding?
As you rightly mentioned, our bilateral trade increasing dramatically, 85 times to compare with 30 years. And at this point, I would like to say not only we are now the largest trading partner with each other, but also each other's very important investment partner. Let me elaborate one by one. In terms of bilateral trade, I just want to highlight one point, the market share. You can see last year, Chinese market accounted for 19.4% of total ASEAN trade, while at the same time, the ASEAN trade with China accounted for more than 40% of Chinese trade. So that can demonstrate clearly we are very important, not only for the trade.
I mean, if you look at that trade number, anyone would assume it is extremely compatible, but how? I think that needs to be highlighted.
The first and the most important one is the support and the guidance of our leaders of both sides. Maybe you can recall every year on a regular basis, our leaders may sit together and they discuss a very important issue about the future architecture and the direction of our cooperation. And I think that indeed give us a very important leadership and guidance.
So top support.
Yeah, top support. The other is institutional arrangement, particularly the China-ASEAN FTA, which I personally involve very deeply. The FTA between China and ASEAN has been in place for nearly 20 years.
Okay.
It's already 20 years. So with the existence of China-ASEAN FTA, both sides dramatically reduce our tariff and freer our liberalizing our services and the investment market. So that gives rise to current scenario.
And now RCEP.
Yeah.
We're still waiting for that to be implemented, but just think about that. What would that mean? It's probably another astronomical growth in terms of trade.
The RCEP is the combination of 5 existing ASEAN FTAs with its trading partner. So within this new scenario and architecture, there are many new elements have been inserted into this process. The other issue is not only a physical reaction, it's going to create a chemical reaction. The most important...
I love that word.
The most important effect, in my opinion, will be the full integration of our significant and the largest market involving in the 15 countries, the member states. So I think the chemical reaction will come from this emerging market. So all those elements put together, you will see a very integrated, largest market in this world. And I could say in this new market, all the rules will be unified. So maybe in other words, in the past, you have to follow country by country's rule. But now you need only to have one driver's license that will lead you to move freely among all the 15 countries.
That sounds absolutely enticing. But if you think about how much synergy, as you said, chemical reaction, this could create and the impact one could have toward the other, not just about the numbers, but also about how things are being done. That is going to be tremendous in a way, Mr. Zhang.
Indeed, the membership of RCEP is quite diversified. It involves some very advanced economy like Japan and Korea, and also it includes some LDC country like Laos, Cambodia, and so on, so forth. I think this is just the merit of the China-ASEAN FTA, because it creates a new pattern that can demonstrate an FTA can bring the economy at different level together. So I believe maybe it can create a new path for all the countries in this world to move ahead hand in hand. On the other hand, I think in terms of the level or the strength of this FTA, I think to compare with those existing FTAs, RCEP involve or incorporate a number of new elements. For example, the electronic commerce. It is one of the most comprehensive article containing in this new agreement. Not only for the traditional part like privacy, electronic signature, so on and so forth, it's also involving some tendency with regard to the free data flow and the server allocation. So that can bring about some new thinking and new way to guide the cooperation among those 15 countries, and maybe it will create some new opportunity for member states to collaborate together.
But Mr. Zhang, I understand now, even though everybody suggests that we want to have RCEP, the 15 countries, the economies still need to go through their own internal political process. And now there are several countries that have already approved that, China, for example, and Singapore, for example. But there are others that didn't do it yet. Now things are getting a little bit more complicated in terms of geopolitics. So as someone who negotiated from day one, at that time things were not as it is today. Are you worried?
Not exactly. I have the great confidence that at the end of the day, for example, at the end of this year, all the 15 countries will be in the position to ratify this very important agreement.
At the end of this year? That is the breaking news to me.
Yes, I think that's my assessment. Why I said that? Because during the negotiation process, and even after the signature of this agreement, all the 15 countries are very keen and enthusiastic about the early entry into force of this agreement. The difference of ratification process is simply because the different countries have different procedures. But to my knowledge, all the 15 countries want the early ratification. See, now they all accelerate their pace for the ratification. With that in mind, I think we have no doubt that the most possibly the agreement will be ratified by all member states.
Now things are getting apparently ever more complicated in terms of politics and geopolitics. Some of the countries are having all of a sudden elections, likely, for example. And of course, everybody is having the impact of geopolitics. For the rest of the year, it's still going to be very challenging. So what business communities telling you from different parts of the world about how they see RCEP and how do they see the future of trade? What does that mean to them?
Actually, after signing of this agreement, the CCPIT, the organization I serve, have maintained the closest contact with our counterpart in other RCEP member states. And actually, we already organized several symposiums and seminars to say how we can welcome and embrace the upcoming RCEP. To my communication with my counterpart in the other countries, I think they are very serious about the upcoming RCEP because number one, they believe the RCEP will bring tremendous trade and investment opportunity for themselves. So they want to take the advantage of it. This is a very starting point. The second point is that they like the new rules very much because to compare with previous FTA, because it signed many years ago, maybe it's not so closely to keep their pace with time. But the RCEP is the most updated agreement among 15 countries. It involves a lot of new set of rules which can guide our cooperation under the current circumstance. So they think this rule will take effect and it will safeguard our cooperation in a very smooth manner.
Just to report to you, Mr. Zhang, I've been talking to various scholars and also experts coming from the area of RCEP countries. And everything, when they said about the future relations, the first thing they talk about is RCEP and the possible trade volume and investment volume we could have toward one another in the future. When you ask that, people have light in their eyes. That's something amazing at this moment when we see so many changes in the world. I'm sure you had the same feeling.
Yes, indeed. You know, both you and me attend the China-ASEAN Expo. By definition, China-ASEAN Expo is 10+1 Expo. But what I heard most is not about the China-ASEAN, but RCEP. So I really feel a little bit worried about that, and I'm thinking.
Why do you worry? You should be very proud because you participated from day one of that negotiation.
As a matter of, I'm even thinking whether we need to consider to expand the size of China-ASEAN Expo to rename it as a RCEP Expo.
That would be a great idea.
Certainly, that's my personal opinion. We need to consult our ASEAN colleagues to see whether it is feasible. Or maybe we can create a new platform to accommodate RCEP.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, there are many ways to address this issue. And I think, indeed, given the deeper liberalization and safeguarded by the new rules, RCEP will indeed create a tremendous trade and investment opportunity. I still want to highlight, when we talk about trade, our first reaction is about the trading goods. I want to talk about trading services. Nowadays, the trade in service account for 17% of our total trade. Maybe when you heard about this figure, you see it is still okay. But if I let you know the world average is 30%, trading services is about 30% of total trade. And for the advanced economy, it is about over 40%. So we can see the gap between RCEP with the average level of world economy. So I believe trading service, for trading services, we will have a lot of things to tap.
What about investment?
I will give you one shining figure. Last year, China invested 14.4 billion US dollar to ASEAN countries, 10 ASEAN countries, which is 3.3 times higher than the figure in 10 years ago. people all like the investment because investment not only bring about trade but also create new jobs, and it can also change the quality of people's life.
But you heard about arguments from different parts of the world. China have not done enough. China has not fulfilled its obligations. China has been promising too much and yet action limited. How would you respond to those accusations?
I think in terms of our commitment, in 2010, China already tabled our report to the WTO by announcing we have completed all our WTO commitment. That report is well celebrated and welcomed by all the WTO members at that time. So if you challenge that China had not fully honor our commitment, you need to give our evidence where and how. But you should not just orally challenge China, but without any grounding. So it's not a responsible assessment.
Mr. Zhang, we see China has been making efforts on different fronts. For example, its commitment to reduction of carbon. How do you see that? What does that mean to the business community?
According to my understanding and my knowledge, I think our business people, our enterprises are very serious about this commitment. At current time, they try to understand our commitment and see how they can react to this commitment. Number two, they are just working on their roadmap to consider how to reduce the existing current carbon and how to reach the peak, and from peak, how to realize the objective of the neutralization.
Looking forward to more specific answers from you and the business community from China. Thank you so much, Mr. Zhang. As always, it's a pleasure.
Thank you.
And that's all the time we have for today. If you'd like to see more, search World Insight or check out our YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook. I'm Tian Wei. On behalf of the team, thanks for watching, and bye for now.